This is actually one of 3 Doctor Who stories that is set at an airport.
Really?
Well, I mean, there are only really 2 that are primarily set at an airport, but Evil of the Daleks kind of starts at an airport.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, where the Doctor and Jamie are running after that truck.
Oh, that was at an airport. Oh,
Yeah.
That was at an airport.
It was in an airport. Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
It's a different airport. That was a Gatwick airport.
Ah. So. I don't really remember that, and that's probably because I was watching a reconstruction I was unfamiliar with the medium of reconstructions, and I was really struggling to follow along. So I actually don't remember a whole lot of that first episode.
A lot of it ended up not being relevant to the plot of that serial. So it was mostly like wild goose chase looking for the TARDIS, but the story immediately preceding that was set primarily at an airport.
Ah, I see. So this is kind of picking up right off after that.
Yeah, and Time Flight is sort of like the triumphant return to airports.
And they got Tegan. She's happy. They really do it up.
They sure do.
I'm Tom Dickinson.
And I'm Louis Midas.
And this is The Cloister Room,
a podcast about Doctor Who and other things.
Time Flight.
Yeah.
Time Flight.
That flight of time.
What did you think of Time Flight?
Yeah, I was kind of on it.
It is definitely on the end of the scale when it comes to Doctor Who. Mm-hmm. It's a rather poor follow-up to Earthshock.
Right,
in my opinion.
Yeah. Earthshock I have seen, and so that makes it a change from usual when we're watching classic Doctor Who, where I'm not really sure what came before and after it. Now, I had seen Earthshock a long time ago, so I wasn't really I couldn't really remember how everything went down, but it seemed pretty somber at the end.
Yeah, well, there are 2 main bullet points from Earthshock, which is the Cybermen show up and Adric dies.
Right.
Both of which I think were surprises at the time.
Oh, really?
I know Adric's death was meant to be a surprise, which is actually the entire reason why Adric's apparition appears in Time Flight, because they wanted to trick people into thinking he was still on the show by crediting him in this story. So that you'd be earth-shocked when Adric died.
Right. Well, there you go. It's kind of funny because, I don't know, I think in terms of like modern Doctor Who, where there's, rumors and stuff going around, and there's the internet, and, people are always saying things on there, and I don't know, and I know that there wasn't internet back in the day, but it's kind of funny that they would still try to obfuscate things for the viewers.
Well, yeah, there was still TV listings, basically.
Right.
So you might look at the TV listings for the following week and see that, Matthew Waterhouse isn't credited. I wonder why that is. Is he leaving the show? Whereas I believe they did still credit him for the whole serial, even though he only appeared briefly. That in listings. That might not be right. I'm not 100% sure. All I know is that I've heard that the reason they sort of brought him back briefly here was to pull the wool over people's eyes.
That wool.
The wool.
It's funny because, there are, at the beginning of the episode, there are references to, like, why aren't you trying to go back and save Adric and all that stuff. And it's kind of funny that the Doctor makes a big to-do about how he can't go back and change time, and even with the suggestion that they could just rescue Adric and the ship could still crash on prehistoric Earth, and the Doctor's like, no, that there's some things you just can't change. And it's kind of funny, the Doctor saying this when 6 regenerations later he is basically inside a ship that pretends to die as if it were the Doctor, in order to circumvent his own death. So perhaps a little bit retroactively hypocritical of the Doctor.
And, maybe eventually he will go back and save Adric. Maybe he'll eventually reach a point where he feels comfortable going back to save Adric.
Yeah, I guess we can always hold on to that and hope. But yeah, maybe actually, maybe the Fifth Doctor knew that a later incarnation of his was going to go back and save Adric, so he couldn't do it. I don't know how he would know that, but we can just say, it's a Time Lordy thing. I don't know. So that seemed a little hypocritical.
A little bit.
But only in very, very distant retrospect, because that, there's obviously a wide gap between these stories, so...
Right.
It's all part of the bigger continuity, I guess. I don't know.
It is.
Speaking of prehistoric Earth, something that this story did was it kind of reminded me of Dinosaurs on a Spaceship.
Okay.
So that might have possibly had something to do with my dislike of it.
Yes, because you strongly dislike Dinosaurs on a Spaceship, as listeners may recall.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it's just, there are, I noticed similarities, like how I didn't really think that a lot of things were explained very well. It involved prehistoric Earth, I guess. I don't know. There was a guy in an otherwise desolate place who the Doctor ends up having to thwart. This is very loose, obviously. I mean, there's a big
guy
between...
that the Doctor ends up having to thwart. That's your connection.
Yes. There are these.
Oh, I see it now. Obviously,
yeah. I mean, you could. How could you not? No, I don't know. I guess a lot of it just stems from. I don't know. I just had a lot of confusion over a lot of things. Like, I didn't really understand. I understand like the idea of involving the Concorde jets. I think those are interesting and kind of cool, but they don't really have any effect. Like I thought that this whole time flight dealie was somehow related to the fact that they were this kind of special jet, and it turned out that they just happened to fly into this sort of time contour.
Yeah, one of the things I liked most about the story is finally getting to see like Tegan's admiration for aircraft kind of pay off in
right,
not necessarily in a plot way, but just have an episode which just shows how in awe and wonder of the marvel of human flight she is, and how much these people who work for an airline are so into it. They seem really into their jobs.
That's true, they do. And I do have to say, I really did there were things I did like about this episode, and one of them was finally seeing Tegan in action, basically, because at the towards the end, where she's kind of directing passengers back to the plane, she's doing it in a very air stewardess way, and it's great. No, it's great seeing that in action. She's a real pro at her job. Actually, had she ever actually had this job at this point, or was she going to have the job and then she was wished off by the Doctor?
I think she had some amount of job training.
Okay.
But had never actually done it yet.
Well, that's pretty good. She's been traveling with the Doctor however long, and she's not rusty at all. She still remembers her training.
Yeah, she sure does.
That just speaks to her professionalism, I think.
Yeah, and then in the end, she has to go back to her job. She leaves the Doctor by accident.
Yeah, I have to say, I was kind of surprised by that ending, especially because I knew that she appears in subsequent episodes.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that was surprisingly, I almost want to say emotional, because, it seems like I haven't seen many companions leave the show, or I haven't seen many classic series companions leave the show, but she seemed really upset about it, and I kind of felt bad for her. It just seems like, by and large, when I have seen a classic Doctor Who companion leave, it's been kind of just this sort of not really tearful, kind of just a thing that's happening now kind of thing.
Sort of a friendly goodbye,
Right.
Who have you seen leave?
Dodo.
Well, yeah, it's a little different from that. Yeah, and she's upset because obviously she didn't want to leave.
Right. Yes, she didn't want to go.
Much like David Tennant.
Exactly.
Yeah, and obviously, yes, as you say, she comes back. Actually, it's in the very next episode that she comes back.
Oh.
So this is the end of one season, and then in the premiere of the following season, she does return.
Oh, okay, I got ya. So that was kind of like a thing to keep people talking about the show while it was on hiatus or whatever.
Yeah, I don't actually know what the story was with that. I don't know if she wanted to leave but changed her mind, or if they just... Yeah, I honestly don't know. I know that, so there is no time on TV where it's just the Fifth Doctor and Nyssa traveling, but Big Finish takes advantage of that gap.
Oh, you mentioned that.
Puts a bunch of stories in there where they travel together, which I think Peter Davison likes, because Peter Davison's always talking about how Nyssa's the perfect companion. I don't know that I really agree with him, but... He feels like Nyssa's his favorite companion, so.
Huh, interesting. Yeah, I mean, I like Nyssa. I think she's pretty cool. I don't know how far I would go to say that she's perfect, but she's definitely cool. I do like her.
I kind of read these episodes in a way that, just like from the expression on the Doctor's face and everything, like he's intentionally leaving Tegan behind. Like he's not waiting around to like have a talk. Like, hey, so are you gonna come with us or not? He's just kind of like forces a smile and is like, hey, come on, Nyssa, let's go. Let's just leave.
You're my favorite, Nyssa. Let's get out of here.
And then when Tegan eventually does come back in the following story, Arc of Infinity, she says like, well, I'm coming with you again. And the Doctor just has this expression on his face that is, it's like he's trying to smile. It's like he's, yeah, sounds great. Yeah.
Well, there you go. I understand that, because I wasn't quite wild about Tegan at first either. Although I have to say, I think she's gotten better. But that's kind of funny. And then he gets Turlo, who's trying to murder him, so...
Yeah.
It's all downhill from here for the Fifth Doctor, I guess.
Pretty much. It all started when Adric died.
Yup.
He was the glue that was holding them all together, really.
The mathematical glue.
So what did you think about the Master?
Again, we see him here with his sort of penchant for dressing up as another person.
I think I mentioned before that there are some instances where the Master is maintaining a disguise when no one is around.
Yeah.
This is what I was thinking of specifically.
Yeah. I have to say, I was really confused. I have to wonder, maybe the Master just does not really understand what disguises are for. Like, maybe he just doesn't understand who disguises are supposed to fool. And maybe...
He's only fooling himself.
Right, maybe he's hoping that one of these days he'll adopt a disguise so perfect that he himself will forget who he is, and he'll be able to live peacefully after that.
And he does, eventually.
Well, that's true. Yeah, so there you go. It finally worked.
Did you know that was the Master?
I unfortunately did have that spoiled for me because I did a very stupid thing that I vow never to do again, and that's that I went to the Wikipedia page for the episode, and I wasn't even really looking at the plot summary. I was kind of scrolling around, and I stopped at like this one section titled Continuity, which I figured would be safe. I don't know why I figured that, but and then it was like, and then it mentioned something about like, oh, in order to conceal the reveal of the Master, Anthony Ainley was credited as this random jumble of letters in the first episode. I was like, and so that was spoiled for me. So I did know that was coming.
It was I think it was Leon Nye Tai or something.
Right. Yeah.
It was a very very strange name.
So yeah, I mean, I guess it certainly does give that surprise, I guess, because I mean, I may have been able to recognize him under all that makeup, but I feel like I probably would not have. So I guess it would have been surprising, but as to how much sense that really makes, in terms of why he was disguised.
Why? Just why? And what happens to him at the end of, I think it was the end of part 2, where he sort of like burbles this liquid all over himself, presumably as part of the disguise. He's like, oh, now I'm going to pretend that I am dying and that I'm like getting sick all over myself. Only just a moment later to finally, for no reason, reveal myself.
Right. Yeah, I just don't know. I don't understand it.
I think during my big rewatch of all Doctor Who, this story was the point where I started to hate the Master because I just felt like nothing he did was making any sense at all. Like, compare this to Colony in Space, which I think was, I mean, there's some weird logical problems with what he's doing there, but at least it's like presented in a way that's coherent.
Right. Yeah, I just don't know. I just don't even know. I mean, I understand him being stuck there, but why would you go through the effort of adopting a disguise? I don't know. I mean, I understand he's trying to get out of prehistoric Earth, good on him, but I don't know. His plot didn't really seem to make all that much sense. And I mean, I don't know. This is part of the thing I have with the Doctor and the Master kind of always meeting each other in the right order. In this particular instance, the Master was just stuck there, and, the Doctor just happens to follow a strange time contour that just happens to be located over present day Heathrow Airport, and it just happens to lead to the Master. And this happens to be not right after, but chronologically after Castrovalva. I don't know. It kind of bothers me with how specific it is, and I don't know.
Yeah, I think the general sort of fanon or headcanon explanation for that is that like all TARDISes are synced to Gallifrey Standard Time or something like that. I think I've heard that.
Okay.
Doesn't make sense. Doesn't necessarily even mean anything. But
I guess.
Yeah, I think you kind of suspend your disbelief for that.
I guess so.
I think to a certain extent, the existence of River Song is trying to make up for the fact that something like that had never happened before, when obviously it should have been happening with the Doctor. If he keeps meeting someone, it's silly for him to always meet them in the right order.
Right. It's very unlikely. Statistically, unless there are occasions where it's just not directly stated that this is happening right in between these two meetings, like that this is happening right after the last meeting or whatever. But I mean, in this particular instance, it is specifically said like, "Oh, how'd you get out of Actually, well, there might be a little wiggle room. I think the way that the dialogue is phrased, it's something like, "Oh, how did you get out of Castrovalva?" or something, and then, "Oh, well, no, then I guess." You know what? I actually don't know. But yeah, I'm willing to just suspend disbelief because I'm kind of used to doing that. But I mean, I don't know. It is kind of weird. And I knew that the Master was somehow involved. I wasn't sure for certain when Khalid, I think is what he is calling himself.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, when he's first introduced, I wasn't certain that was the Master, but it seemed kind of weird. I don't know if it was supposed to evoke this image, but for me, the dialogue seemed like it was hinting at when the Doctor is asking about what this power is or whatever that Khalid is using. He says something like, "by the power of the Great One" or something, and then immediately after that, or maybe it's before that, the Doctor is asking him why he's hiding at the end of a time contour like a spider in a web. And I was thinking, between the spider analogy and the Great One, I could have sworn this was going to be like a Metabilis 3 plot.
Oh, if only.
But then it turned out to be and then minutes after that, it turned out to be the Master, and I'm like, well, hope's dashed.
I actually kind of have a new theory about the Master's disguise.
Oh, yeah?
He's just so evil that he's eager to be offensive. Even though there's no one around there to offend, with his weirdly racist disguise.
Right. I was going to say, once again with the Asian racism. What is up with that?
I wish I knew.
Yeah, actually maybe that is maybe the Master, on top of everything else, is just a horrible racist.
He's just trying to offend the other the previous Concorde jet that landed there. He's there's a bunch of modern late 20th century people. How about just to be evil to them? I will come up with something that will offend them as deeply as I possibly can. And so that's where this colleague, he's like, "Oh, I'm an Asian stereotype who learned magic in Arabia." It's yeah. I think that's got to be it. That kind of makes sense. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm accepting of this theory. Finally solved racism, justified the racism in this story. It's narratively justified.
There you go.
Another thing is, this is actually not so much a criticism, just kind of a weird thing that I notice about the Master over time. The Master isn't curious or concerned about Adric. I mean, the master. I wonder if the master wonders what happened to Adric.
Yeah, after leaving the doctor, this time he kind of thinks to himself, wonder whatever happened to that math kid.
Yeah, because they spent some time together.
Yeah, that's right. I kind of liked him.
He was excellent. He was mathematically excellent.
Yes. So yeah, I do have to wonder. Yeah, actually, yeah. Does the master ever express concern for the doctor's companions?
I think back when it was the Roger Delgado master only ever appeared with John Pertwee and Katie Manning as Joe Grant. So there was a certain amount of he would have conversations with Joe and they'd interact with one another and there'd be some amount of continuity there where they'd kind of acknowledge that they had this ongoing rivalry, etc. Right. Whereas the master at this point, the Roger Delgado master, seems on the one hand completely willing to show up and press the companions' buttons and psychologically torture them. But when he shows up and a companion he had previously seen just isn't there anymore, it's not a big deal. I wonder if he maybe showed up with some Adric specific plan. He's I'm going to use this kid's mathematical excellence to do this, or I'm going to torture him with memories of the Starliner and the Marsh people or something. And then he didn't show up. He's like, well, crap, that plan doesn't work anymore.
Right. Yeah, now he's got to switch to plan B. He thought this was just one big chess match, and the doctor had somehow known that the master was going to use Adric against him, and so the doctor had somehow known to get rid of Adric before then. Now the master's got to counter with his backup plan.
Yet another reason why the doctor can't just go back and save Adric.
That's right. He would have been playing right into the master's hand. It seemed like there was a lot of wasted potential in this story.
Yeah, I could see that.
I don't know. I mean, for one thing, once again, bringing up the Concorde, once again, it didn't really matter that it was a Concorde or anything like that. And the Concorde in itself is kind of a cool thing in my mind because it was this thing that I'm sure at the time felt futuristic because it was a commercial flight that was traveling at, supersonic speeds, and it was the fastest commercial jet that you could possibly take, and this was whatever, this is, I'm sure, I just imagine it being the bee's knees or whatever. And the funny thing is that it's discontinued. You can't get one anymore. And so it takes it. So instead of being dated or whatever, this is in a sense dated because Concorde is no longer a thing, but it's also once again kind of futuristic because it's a technology that we don't have in our modern day life. So it's
by that logic, would a buggy whip would that be futuristic? Because I can't remember the last time I saw a buggy whip.
I don't know.
Are you saying that this story is jet punk?
Yes, that is exactly what I'm saying. Yes, it is 80s jet punk. I don't know, it just seems kind of weird that there's this technology that was really good at this thing and it turned out to be too good at this thing and now we no longer use it because we don't need it to be this good. I don't know, it strikes me as weird. But I don't know. The thing is that I don't know why I was looking at Wikipedia. I don't know why I was looking at Wikipedia so much. I always look at I don't know. I always look at Wikipedia so much, but I don't know. I don't know why. But I was looking at Wikipedia for the Concorde, and there were actual concerns about it because it flies at a higher altitude. So, it absorbs more ionic radiation or something. I forget the specific type of radiation, but because, the higher you go up in the atmosphere, the less protection you have from solar radiation and just other kind of cosmic radiation, and so there was a concern that, you'd absorb more of it on one of these than you would on a traditional passenger jet. And that was actually true. They actually had a radiometer or whatever it is that detects radiation on board, and if they encountered too much radiation they would have to descend. And I don't know, that seems kind of cool to me. And once again, this is, in my opinion, a wasted opportunity because they could have had a really cool story where there was some kind of cosmic radiation that did cause problems, and that could be the basis for the plot of the story or whatever. For all I know, I don't know, it could have been time traveling cosmic radiation, I don't know. But it wasn't. We could still shoehorn in the time flight plot. It just I don't know. I just feel like there was a lot of opportunity here that was just wasted. Because it could have really played off of people's fears for the Concorde. But they didn't really. They invented a new fear that didn't have a whole lot of real-world basis. I don't know. That just bothers me.
I can see how that would bother you.
I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot of missed opportunities.
Well, I don't know. I feel like the whole concept is sound. I mean,
I guess
I mean, just the basic concept of like you got this vehicle and it winds up in a place where that vehicle shouldn't be. But like, I mean, Planet of the Dead isn't that great.
Well, all right.
I don't know how many other examples I can think of.
I don't know. I guess my problem is that it just seems really oddly specific. Because, I mean, you could take any airplane and do that. And, I mean, from a writer's standpoint, I don't know why they did specifically choose the Concorde.
Probably just because it's cool.
Right, but this is my thing, is that if they'd have just done a little bit of research, they could have come up with, like, an actual... just anything that would have actually been a concern. They could have actually worked it in. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I guess that's really it, is that they just picked it because it was cool.
Yep.
And I guess it's okay. I guess it's okay to have just a cool looking plane be the basis for your adventure. I guess. I don't know. Just in my mind, it still seems like a wasted opportunity, but I guess, whatever. So now, Concordes and double-decker buses are two vessels that we've already used, and not really. Yeah, I guess you could say that for the double-decker bus, there was really nothing special about the double-decker bus. It could have been a taxi cab. Could have been I don't know, probably a subway train. When this story first aired, there was a poll in Doctor Who magazine, for this season to see what was the best story of this season. And it came in the middle. Really?
Yeah. So it was. Whereas now in the Mighty 200 poll a few years ago, it came fourth to last out of all Doctor Who stories.
Oh wow! Really?
Yeah. So opinion of it has gone down over the years. Maybe because the Concordes are no longer in favor. There's no longer that same like cultural whatever.
Right. Yeah. Wait, was the Mighty 200 before or after Planet of the Dead aired?
I think it would have been after Planet of the Dead.
Okay, so is Planet of the Dead on there?
I think so.
So where does it rank?
I don't know.
Because I'm thinking maybe it's just fear of vehicles kind of goes down over time. Maybe.
Yeah, probably fear of vehicles.
But I want to know, does the fear go down after the episode aired? Like, were people terrified of double-decker buses after this aired?
Planet of the Dead was 99, so pretty much right in the middle.
Okay. Well, so once again, right in the middle. And so this would have been right. So right after Time Flight aired, it was in the middle. Right after Planet of the Dead aired, it was in the middle. So now Planet of the Dead probably has plummeted, and probably people are no longer afraid of double-decker buses, unless they have to retire the double-decker bus first, and then it'll go down. I think we need more data.
I think we probably do. Yeah.
You know what else this episode reminded me of, and it almost redeemed it for me?
What?
It reminded me of Lost.
Okay, I can see the relationship there.
Yeah, there's a plane that crashed and a plane that took off. So we got two specific moments in Lost were recreated in this episode, or I guess vice versa.
Well, not only is there one plane that crashed.
That's true.
There's two planes that crash and then one that leaves.
That's right.
Because one plane has to go in after.
That's right.
It's a lot of Lost there.
Yeah. So the whole, and it would be really impressive if we could compress all of Lost down to 4 22-minute episodes. See where that would, and we'd probably get Time Flight out of it.
We would probably get something very much like Time Flight. Instead of Adric, it would be Walt.
Right. And instead of the Master, it would be Desmond.
Oh, sure.
Because he caused the plane to crash.
That's true.
That's spoilers. I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah, well, a lot of things cause the plane to crash.
That's true. Like those numbers, probably.
Yeah, probably. At least some of those numbers are involved. One would assume.
Yes.
I don't think I like this as much as I like Lost.
No, me neither.
But, you did mention that you didn't think some things were explained very well. I think I think compared to Lost, this might actually fare favorably in that regard.
That's true. And I can definitely say that I liked this more than I liked some episodes of Lost. Just not most. Not Lost as a whole.
Right. So, like, the episode where Jack is on the beach and flies a kite, and
yes,
we learn about how he got his tattoos. That's above or below this?
Oh, that's below, yeah.
Okay.
Comfortably below. So, there's, definitely moments where Time Flight has the leg up on Lost.
Well, that's good. We can all be glad for that.
Yeah. I also liked some of the dialogue, I thought, especially towards the beginning. Actually, this might have all been in the first episode when they're at Heathrow and I guess the authorities kind of question the doctor and they're like, "Are you responsible for this box?" And he's like, "I try to be."
Ooh.
I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
I don't know. Good stuff.
Yeah.
He also laments not having a scarf anymore.
Yeah. Time Flight it's not all bad. It's not
No.
probably not the fourth, or I think it was actually the fifth worst in Mighty 200. It's probably not the fifth worst.
No, I should say not.
Do you like it more or less than Dinosaurs on a Spaceship?
That is a tough question. I kind of want to say I like it more.
Oh. Jeez. Well, it does have going for it that, unless I miss something, I don't think there's a testicle joke in Time Flight, so...
Yeah, that's true. It does have that going for it.
So I guess there's that.
Yeah, just a little bit better.
Shall we select the episode to be watched after Time Flight?
I think we shall.
For the following week? Alright, I'll queue up the random selector and select at random. And it will be... Shada!
Ah.
Shada. Well, yeah, this is a story that never existed.
Aren't those the best?
Yeah, it's not merely missing. It is missing in a more existential sense. It failed to thrive. It failed to come into being.
Well, there you go.
Huh. Shut up. Okay, so there are a couple of options as to how a person might go about experiencing this story.
Okay, I was just about to ask that.
And I don't know which one we should do, or if we should, or if we should even tie ourselves down to definitively picking one. And I think we talked a little bit about this back when we talked about the Five Doctors, because extracts from Shada were used in the Five Doctors.
That's right.
Different extracts from Shada were used in different versions of the Five Doctors. In fact.
Right. Yeah.
But anyhow, there is a DVD of Shada that was just released not too long ago, and that includes basically all of the stuff that was filmed, and the stuff that wasn't filmed is narrated by Tom Baker. So there's this little film thing where he's in like a museum full of monsters from the classic series, and he's just sort of talking about like how Shada was never made and why it was never made, and like now we're going to present it in some form. And then this is not the only version of Shada available. There is also an animated version. It's not really fully animated, I don't think.
Okay.
I actually haven't ever seen it. I think it's sort of like motion comic-y.
Oh.
It features Paul McGann and Lala Ward, who would have played Romana. Mm-hmm. And basically, it sort of has Paul McGann's doctor being like, wait, this thing that was supposed to happen never happened. So he's got to go back and do it.
That's right. I think I remember you talking about this.
Yeah, I probably did mention it. And that is actually also on the DVD, but I don't think it's on the DVD as video. I think you have to put it into a DVD-ROM drive and find the files on the DVD. That may not be true. I don't know.
I do have a DVD-ROM drive.
Ah, well, that's good. So do I. So there's also a fully animated version of Shada that has additional voice acting, which no one is allowed to watch. This is a version that Ian Levine produced at his own personal expense and is not legally allowed to distribute. And the only way you can see it is if Ian Levine invites you over to his house, and he will make you dinner, and then you can watch Shada with him.
I think that's the way we've got to go.
This actually does happen, by the way.
Does it?
Well, I think I don't know if he still does it, but a couple of back when his version of Shada was finished, he offered it to the people who make the Doctor Who DVDs. He said, "Hey, listen, I'm not even going to charge you. You can just put this on the DVD as an extra, and everyone will be able to see it because that's all I really want." And then they said, "No, we don't like this. We don't want to do this." And he got kind of mad. So he went on the Gallifrey base forum and basically said, "All right, if anyone's interested, I'll put together a group of like 5 or 6 people, and you can all come over for dinner, and then we'll watch Shada." And I guess he did that a couple times. I don't know if he's still doing that, like still putting together groups for Shada, for like pirated illegal Shada, the version that only he has and no one else can ever see. There's a short clip of it somewhere on YouTube, I think.
Oh, really?
So if you want to see that, you can only see a clip of it though. You can't see the real thing.
Oh man,
not the whole thing.
I desperately want to now though.
I kind of wish I could see it because I'm just kind of curious. But
right.
So in addition to that, those versions, there is also a novelization.
Really?
Which was written based on the original scripts, and it was written by Gareth Roberts, who wrote the Shakespeare Code and The Unicorn and the Wasp and The Lodger and Closing Time. Yeah, I guess probably the safest route is to just go with the regular DVD version.
I should think.
I might check out the McGann version as well, though.
Yeah, I think I might like to do that also as well.
And if I could see the Levine version, I'd probably see it.
Yeah.
He hired all the actors to do voice acting.
Wasn't it something like he couldn't get Tom Baker, though?
He couldn't get Tom Baker. He got an impersonator for Tom Baker. But,
it's close enough.
Yeah, you got a bunch of other people. You got most of them.
Oh, there you go.
All right, so Shada it is.
Yeah.
The most mysterious and legendary of all Doctor Who stories.
Yeah.